Welcome, super patient exterminators, slime creatures, and temporal shadows, to episode 490 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 17th of October, 2023, and featuring the Third Doctor Adventures of the Annihilators, written by Nicholas Briggs and starring Tim Treloar as the Doctor, Michael Troughton as the Doctor, Daisy Ashford as Liz Shaw, John Colshaw as Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, and Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon. I am Bill Sylvia, the one in black, and with me are color commentator Alex Fireheart
I can talk again.
and technical director Mad Matt Winchell.
I'm working every day, but it's Friday this week.
We took an unintended hiatus due to two
Mm,
of us getting sick for multiple weeks. Um, and yeah, and then
yeah.
and planned travel. So we are
Mm,
back, and we will have quite a bit of news to cover. Although
yeah.
thankfully, the last 2 weeks have been quieter on the news than the weeks before it,
Mm,
Yeah.
but not completely quiet.
mm.
true.
Uh,
So, anyone want to discuss their time off lately?
um. Well, I guess I actually have shit to discuss, so I might as well knock mine out first. But yeah, it's funny. Like I went north to attend a wrestling show, came back and got sick. And it was like, oh great. And like, it wasn't even. And I have to believe that what the problem was is where I stayed. It did not occur to me because I'm so used to staying in like places where they'll give you really thick sheets. So even if it doesn't feel like you've got a blanket, it still feels like you don't really need one. Um, and then I wake up shivering because I realized, oh, the aircon was on all night, and even though it was on something like relatively okay, it wasn't like on super cold or anything. Yeah, I think that and the lack of sleep ultimately did me in. So like I called in sick Monday, managed to get into the doctors that day, which was shocking because usually they're all booked out by then. So some people must have canceled or something. And I was, yeah, basically off sick for like I think 2 or 3 weeks. Um or like two and a bit. Um and then thankfully that like, and again, I brought it up a bit before stream, but the thing that pissed me off is like, one, that meant I didn't get any extra money from working the school holidays. Two, I had legitimately just asked about like uh a full-time set of shifts 5 days a week had come up that lined up exactly, even though they weren't the like start finish times I wanted. I would have had Tuesday and Wednesday off, so I still would have been available for the podcast, but I would have been working Thursday through Monday, which is what I wanted, and all that. And I'm gearing up for it. I'm like, cool, I'll come back from this trip and maybe I'll get it. And then I get sick, and then I come back before going away on the trip, another trip, but for like slightly longer. And they've hired someone else, and I'm like, well, there goes that. I get sick for a couple of weeks and I miss out on that. That pissed the hell out. Like that pissed me off so much. Like my body just really fucking screwed me on that one. But yeah, then I went down to my state capital of Brisbane for a couple of days to attend a wrestling show. Um and the show was really good. Um and it was just funny cuz like most of the time I'm extremely introverted. Like I'm in public, I'm not talking unless someone approaches me. But it was very easy. I don't know if it's just because it's wrestling, but like I tend Like, I ended up talking with quite a few people there, and it was just like, wow, there's just so few. And like, just being there and then coming home, I'm like, fuck this, I'm moving. Like, when I can afford to, I'm moving down there. Because, like, so many, like, I live, again, I've joked about it before, but where I live in Australia, it's, it's it's kind of overkill of a comparison, but I still like to make the comparison anyway, because it's funny that I basically live in the Florida of Australia. Very politically conservative. They deal with hurricanes, we deal with cyclones. It's very, it's very like,
Well, the key
it's that
question
kind of
is how much of the culture is predicated on meth?
thing. Honestly, I would not know, but it would not shock me because I mean,
Cocaine.
but yeah.
Yes.
um,
Oh,
but
sorry, you're
yeah,
still
it's
going.
yeah, yeah, and like also when I got like the day after I got home, one of my sisters called me a slur that rhymes with maggot, so that was great.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was the straw, and she did it very casually, like she thought she was doing a thing she could get away with. She's lucky I didn't clock her in the face.
Hmm.
Like, and a lot of people will be listening to this and be like, "How dare you, bitch?" One, I'm non-binary, so it's not a man hitting a woman, and two, if you call me a slur, I will knock you out. I don't care. So she's lucky that with my anger issues that I've been dealing with since I was 8 years old, the control it took to only get up in her face and scare the shit out of her is a lot. So yeah, it was that. That was like in hindsight, thank God she did that because now I have the motivation I need to save up money and get the fuck out of here.
Hmm.
So it's been a bit of a week, and then thankfully I met someone locally online that I started chatting with that I seem to be hitting it off with. Maybe we'll start dating, who knows? But if not, at least I have a new local friend, but hey, we'll see where that goes. But
Hey.
that's generally been nice. It's like a very emotional roller coaster of a weekend.
Well,
Sounds like it. Yeah.
I'm not surprised if that's at all just about everybody lately. For me, I think now since our break started, this is like the second time at work that someone's gotten sick, and even though I do frequently worry whether or not I'm doing a good enough job, they do seem to be in general fairly happy with most of my work at work lately.
Hmm.
That and I am one of the people they constantly come to when someone's sick and they need someone to fill.
Being reliable is a good thing for job security.
Mm-hmm. And especially when they keep coming back. If I was doing a bad job every time, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't be bothering. So that said, I'm literally working every day this week since this last Sunday until Friday, and then I'm still working Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Double checking what my calendar says. The last day I had off was Saturday. The next day I have off is Friday, and I don't know from Monday till the end of the next weekend yet. That'll be updated on Thursday. So 2 more days. They only update 1 week in advance, and the Thursday you'll get to see the next week from. It'll be the 22nd until the 29th is what I'll be seeing. Originally, I was supposed to have the 21st and 22nd off, and then I got given a chance to take it, and I'm like, you know what? This week already got pushed up to 32 hours. Yeah, I'll take that 340 some, or probably actually 360 some dollar check. And yeah. By the way, they pay every week.
Nice.
Ah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't constantly have to feel like I need to worry, but I do need to keep an eye on how much I'm spending on food. I feel like every once in a while when I'm having meals at work, it's a little bit pricey. Just a wee bit. So between everything else going on, I have gotten a few things again. I've gotten a couple decorations for Halloween. All my stuff for my costume parts have all come in. Um, as much as I really like the new stuff for my Malice costume, it's a bit too much for wearing at work, so I'll be wearing my Jason costume, which is pretty apt since we just had a Friday the 13th.
Well, Jason doesn't have glowing eyes.
No, he doesn't, but I needed to up a few bits. In particular, I wanted something decent to wear for a short underneath the jacket because I'm not going to want to wear that jacket the entire time I'm at work. Depending on how nice it is in the building, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure if I'm having to get down on my hands and knees again and sort something on the bottom shelves constantly, I'm going to want to be able to take that sucker off. So I got Jason's hockey mask mom as the Friday 13th version of I Love Mom.
Yeah.
So I got that for like the undershirt, and I'll be wearing the hockey mask and everything else when I'm not like going crazy doing something, and when I'm not in the back room like making a pallet, making a pull of the compact cardboard or something. Also got my driver's test in, passed it. Now we
That's
just
right.
Now the
Yes,
only thing keeping
congratulations on that.
the only thing keeping me from driving now is the fact that we need to get the paperwork sorted for my mother so she can finally get the loans she's been looking to get her hands on. But like in order to get to all of this, she has to get through all the paperwork done, finish bringing back her original name, and finally getting all the T's crossed and all the I's dot, and then she can pay bills, and that includes being able to, since I paid for her card to get repaired, her paying for my card to get finished and repaired. So yeah, just a series of things, but that's one of the big steps I've been looking to get done with. And one of the two bigger steps that I needed to cross in order to get ready for the next job I've actually been eyeing up now for about since honestly since this summer. I've been eyeing up. When Ran passed, Aaron came over with one of our other old convention friends that also helped run stuff back in the day, and he mentioned the fact that where he's working, it's pretty laid back. It's mostly a driving job. You go to like factories and stuff, pick up samples, put them on ice, and just drive them back to the main facility. Yeah. You drive essentially the company car to everything. They pay for your gas, I believe, for the most part when you're using the company car. And their starting wages are $16 and up an hour. And there's a quick possibility of within a few months to get another upgrade. So
basically a form of Uber, but you actually get paid well.
It's a health and safety Uber, yeah.
Well, yeah.
You're going to you pick up samples, like you take it back to the facility, they test them to make sure everything in the factories for these food factories is still running clean, and just go and check it the next week again.
I think that's more Postmates than Uber.
But that's essentially the job I'm looking at getting into, and I'm like, it's gonna be a hell of a lot more laid back than any job you're going to get. You get to spend most of your time on the road listening to whatever you want to listen to. And that would include like podcasts, audios, music, what have you, whatever the mood is for you that day or that week. And otherwise you get like 2 hours of work on a full and you're working literally like full-time hours, like almost up to 40 hours a week. And you're working like maybe 2 hours a day doing the whole packing things up thing.
I was going to say, that would definitely make listening to audio dramas recovering a bit easier while you're...
Oh, that would just make it so much easier. Yeah, it would even give me a chance to maybe double listen if I really want to, yeah. But yeah, that's the job I'm looking to get into. But one of the other big steps I want to cross, and I want to make sure I have time to cross it and make sure I have a decent record for it, is that obviously it's a driving job, and I just got my license. I would be a little bit nervous hiring somebody that just got their license. Don't care how old they are. So I'm thinking give it about half a year to a year, depending on how things are going, and then try to apply for it. And I'll have backup for the application through someone else that we already know. So I'm like, yeah, I'll give this a go, but I want to get certain things stomped on and figured out before I go hopping into it. That way I can guarantee them, hey, I've been this long driving, and it's not just been a month or a week, and I'm accident proof so far. So how about it?
Yeah, I remember when I was working as a KFC manager. I mean, this is not the same position that you're in, but basically, like, as soon as I got my license and I went and got a car, they immediately gave me a promotion and a raise. Because they were like, because it was basically like, you can do all these extra things now that you have a car. Here's the job that you've qualified for the past year.
Here's your upgrade. Congrats. Congrats and good luck. Well, the thing is that I've been getting driven to work a lot this week because my mom has also been sick, but also she's been having an eye surgery. It's not like a disease; it's like just a natural weird, like usual human deformity thing, where there's been some sort of weird pressure building up in one of her eyes or both her eyes. I can't remember which. I think it's both her eyes, but it can be very easily fixed with a little bit of LASIK surgery, essentially is what it amounts to, is that you just do a little bit of fixing up with a laser, releases all the pressure, and eliminates the possibility that if this pressure was to continue somewhere down the line, if they were needed to do another eye operation where they had to dilate her pupils, because of that pressure, it could have caused permanent blindness. So this got rid of that chance of ever happening, essentially. So that's all been going on, on top of everything else. Oh, and as she was on her way back from the doctors and everything today, before she picked me up from work, apparently one of her coworkers just committed suicide. So she's been through a round of it today, and she was originally planning to cook dinner tonight. So I just went, you know what? You just got back from the doctors. You're obviously not very happy with what's going on at work, etc. I'm just going to order us Domino's. So I got her pizza.
Yeah, sounds like a good call.
Yeah, so I orders pizza. I already had mine, and she'll be eating off hers for the next, 2 or so days. So alleviate a lot of pressure of that, and just got things done and get back up here in time to chill for a little bit and then get ready for the stream. And that's basically been my couple of weeks. So, Bill, anything interesting for you?
Yep. So I'll try to be brief, but yeah. So I came down with a basic cold that I think pre-COVID I would have tried to keep going into work until I reached a point where I was, blowing my nose too often to the point where it's just unpleasant for everyone. And of course it was weird trying to figure out what type of cold I have, just because I have chronic bronchitis. So of course when I get sick, there's bronchitis symptoms, even if it's not like a full-on regular bronchitis. So it was a mixture of a head cold and bronchitis, but I was very annoyed that it took like 2.5 weeks to go away. But I'm in a very lucky position as, a student that's, on a research assistantship this semester. I don't really, other than my classes, I don't really have any time commitments. I canceled a few of the meetings I would have gone to. Some of them I was just text only. So I basically went, even I never got a COVID test, but even if it was like really weird COVID that had none of the usual symptoms, I was already self-isolated for 2.5 weeks. So
Right.
I barely, I didn't really contact anyone. The most contact I ever had with someone was when like the DoorDash driver couldn't find my door and I had to come down and take something by hand. Like, well, that was the most contact I had with anybody for those 2.5 weeks. Um, I
That actually reminds me of a really funny short story. A VTuber I occasionally watch. She ordered something, but she was also sick. So she was just gonna grab it and say and just pull it in and be that. But for a reason, this particular version of DoorDash or whatever, they have to take a picture to make sure that they know that they got delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So it happened to take a picture of just her arm hanging out the door, holding the bags, and then he said, I forget what he said to her, and then she had to go give a thank you back, but she was also again really sick, so went thank you, just like what, and quickly walked away.
The photo thing has been really useful because like I've had DoorDash drivers like drop things off at the wrong side of the house. I've had people go up the unsafe staircase that is clearly in the process of being torn down and put back up that doesn't even go to my apartment. People will be like, "Oh yeah, I'll go up that staircase and drop all of the Instacart order up there." So so at least the photo helps me find where the hell they put it.
Right.
One time, I ordered, like, this was when my sleep schedule was weird. I ordered Taco Bell at 2 a.m. And I know that they found the street that I live on, but based on the photo, they dropped it off at some random house that's far enough away that I didn't recognize, like, the paneling or the doors or, the walls or anything. It's a place I've never been to. So at least I was able to use that to be like, yeah, they never delivered my food. Give me a refund, please. Like, maybe somebody woke up in the morning and found free Taco Bell in front of their door.
Honey, open up the microwave. We got free lunch.
Right. I will, since, this is a new update that I haven't brought up. So, in early October, they processed the applications for graduation from the school I just moved away from. So the ethics board, who I've been waiting to approve my thesis project so I can actually graduate from that school, they got that and they were like, "Oh, you don't go here anymore, so you can't do research at this school anymore." And I'm like, "I need to do this research so I can stop going there. Please approve the project." So it's been like a week and a half, and I've been waiting. Like, I emailed my contact in the department, and I'm like, so I'm waiting to get this sorted out. But, considering that I paid, $700 in tuition and fees just so that I can finish my thesis, and then finish graduating, it would be nice if I can actually do that and not have wasted the entire, the money.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And yeah, so since we've had a lot of catching up to do, I don't want to spend any longer on that. So let's go on to tonight's show. We will not be covering birthdays because it's been 5 weeks. But we do have
a half
lost
hour just birthdays.
Yep. We do have a lost story, and I'm sure at least half an hour worth of news. We will be putting Geek Talk on hold for the week. There are actually some things we've seen and done, but we're going to wait, and then we're going to do our look at elements of Doctor Who, and then our episode summary, review, final thoughts, and ratings.
Speaking of Geek Talk, I'll have something by next week. I was hoping to have it done by today, but again, things delayed it.
We would have skipped it.
Yep. So anyhow, lost stories.
Yep. Ooh, God. I'm trying to remember now because this was a while ago. If was an exact date given in that thing, or is it just the date of the article? Was the date of his passing?
It was before the actual article. Because I remember seeing it when I was doing birthdays before I stopped doing, before I deleted the birthdays. But let's see. What's funny is, well, we haven't said his name yet, but apparently the title Sir is not supposed to follow you past death. You're supposed to lose the Sir when you die. September 27 was the date. So the day before the article.
The day before, yeah.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, on the 27th of September, we did unfortunately lose noted actor Michael Gambon, mostly known for stuff like being the replacement Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies. Doctor Who fans will know him from the Christmas special or Christmas Carol. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head other stuff that I've seen him in and didn't realize.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that it
Because
was him.
I know he's definitely been in
Um,
quite a few things.
I can't remember if it was
without
him or the
obviously not
previous
go,
guy.
obviously not going into like a ton of obviously because we'd be here all day. He's been
Oh yeah,
been
right.
around
Yeah,
for that
this
long,
article
but
does not have a lot listed,
um,
but
obviously being a
Alright.
UK actor, he also did a notable amount of theater work.
mhm.
Um,
So I'm just looking for things. Oh, well, I guess Paddington is probably relatively low on his list, but
Actually, I hear the
actually
Paddington
that's a
movies are
Doctor
pretty
Who
good.
connection. So yep.
I've been hearing, yeah, I've been hearing those movies actually have been pretty good. So.
Because it is funny because he does feel like one of those actors where like
Oh, he was
he's
the
just in
prophet from
so
Morrowind.
much. He's just been in so much, but then you like really think about it and you're like, how much have I actually seen that he was in? But I feel like I
one thing
remember
I'm
seeing him
curious
show
of, I
up in
can't
something
remember which
and it really
Dumbledore
surprised
it
me.
was.
It's also when somebody is 82, you know,
Nope, not him.
many of their movies are probably a bit older than some of us, and
Right.
while
yeah.
while that's not necessarily always a barrier, if it's not in the genre we normally look at, then that might be an
Yeah.
impediment.
Yeah, I mean, he did his first, at least credited on Wikipedia anyway, theater job was from 1962. So a year before the show this podcast is about
Yeah.
even started.
Well, his first movie appearance was in a Shakespeare movie in 1965.
So there you are.
Which makes sense, I guess. If like if you're
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the UK and you're doing theater work, stands to reason that they would just be like, "Oh, you do stage."
But yeah, I actually am not sure if I've personally seen him in anything on this list other than Harry Potter and Doctor Who.
It's
Yeah,
funny
I'm
because
not
it is
That
the
sure.
thing
said,
of
if
like,
you, for those who play Elder Scrolls Online, he has apparently a role in that.
Oh wait, was that Elder Scrolls Online?
Yeah.
Cause I'll check. Cause it said Morrowind. No, I thought that was the
It says,
Morrowind game.
it's online and online Morrowind. I didn't know there was an online Morrowind, but
Oh.
maybe it's like a
Yeah, that would be
maybe
one
it's
of the
like
expansions.
yeah, an expansion.
So wait. Helps if I spell prophet right. Okay, so yeah, he's the prophet. He's one of the actual main talking characters in the online game, at least for the first like half of the game. There's now been like 5 or 6 expansions to the thing
No major
now.
role then. Okay.
But yeah, he plays a major role for like the first half of the game. Because he's the one that actually literally saves your character from being imprisoned in a hellish afterlife, essentially, that people are being forced into by random acts of black magic. Yay! I should also mention that John Cleese is there. And you get to talk to his character a couple times.
I will say I'm not entirely surprised that his acting credits stop after 2019 because short of taking up a lot more voice work, it would have been a bit risky for someone of his age at that point.
I suppose. How
to
old
be
was
doing
he?
stuff in person.
Oh gosh.
It looks like cause of death was pneumonia. So not a pleasant way to go.
Yeah. That's even one of those things where like you would almost be
83.
at least it wasn't COVID, but pneumonia isn't exactly great either.
Right.
He was roughly 83 years old, I believe.
Hmm.
I think he might have been one of the birthdays we would have been covering. In which case, yeah, he would have then
Might have
turned
been, yeah.
83.
Yeah.
I'm, I, I,
Actually,
I
no.
closed his Wikipedia article, so I'm not opening it up
seemingly
again.
his birthday would have been at least my time. I forget if it's midnight
born
for you.
19th.
Yeah.
Actually, he would have been
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
His birthday will have been next week, yeah.
So
Just shy.
probably yeah.
Just shy of
So
83.
long
He was
as
82.
nothing yeah.
3 weeks shy of 83. Yeah.
Which I feel like that always feels like worse when it's like, damn, they almost made it to the next birthday.
Although,
And
I
then...
mean,
That was
at
my
least he made it
great-grandmother,
past
too.
80,
Mm.
which
Honestly,
is funny because,
yeah.
considering his roles a decade ago, he was playing a character that could have been played by an 80-year-old. So maybe that was his acting skill, or maybe he just appeared older than he was. So, there's Michael Gambon. Moving on to current episode news, and we've got quite a bit of this, and I wouldn't be shocked if we spend the next 20 minutes on this chunk of news bits. First off is a quicker one though. There had been the question of what role Miriam Margolius had been cast in. Well, it has been officially announced that she is the one playing Beep the Meep.
Ah.
I guess that was announced just before the trailer, which is our next bit because of course Beep speaks in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so a big trailer, not big in time. It was only 2.5 minutes, but I think it was pretty dense with content.
Oh yeah.
Came out the 23rd, so it's been a while now, but it was going to be like the center of news that day before we all got sick.
Or like everything happened all at once, yeah.
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 So what do we think of the trailer?
I'm glad we got a bit more context than prior now. And the fact that this is still like one trailer effectively for 3 different things does basically make me go, okay, yeah, by now this is one story across. This is effectively an extremely long 3-part serial.
And it's our next few pieces, they actually managed to break down what was which episode. So if what we're about to cover is true, we know that Donna is in multiple episodes. So she's not just cameoing in one episode, like she's actually going to be involved. Because there was originally the question of, okay, is it something like the doctor is just going to meet Donna and then like travel with her daughter? Actually, I don't think Rose was even in this trailer, or at least not much.
She was in there a few times.
Say anything.
She doesn't say anything. Yeah. No, she didn't. We didn't have any lines from her. Yeah. But also, can I say my general reaction to the trailer? Finally, finally, something that looks like it's quality. Also, can I mention the freaking logo they added to the end looks like an upgraded version of the 4th Doctor logo.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Which
the
I am totally for.
And it's still not announced if they're using that after the 60th specials.
Yeah.
But they're at least using it for the specials for sure.
Yeah, because like there have been technically 2 versions of this logo where like when they were like here's a new logo, and it was basically a redone Tom Baker era logo, and then they're like,
oh, here's the logo in the video, and it's a flashy, more nicely done one. Oh,
like,
yes.
It was like, here's the logo for the 60th, and it's like basically the same thing, but like a gold outline.
Give me a Starfield with David Tennant's face. Oh my effing god.
Yeah.
Please, Russell.
Honestly, I've brought it up before, I think off stream, but I kind of wish they would bring back the actor's face actually being in the opening. And we're only getting Tenet for 3 specials anyway.
For like one season of Capaldi, I think, right? Or like
Yeah, it
half a
was like
season of Smith. One of
yeah,
Like
the
a
it was
two.
like
couple
I
episodes.
think that was
Yeah.
like the joke of like it was basically just his eyes. So it was like the attack eyebrows.
It was like a 50th anniversary callback to the old style, and then they moved on.
Mm.
Also, as this article reminds us, I guess we'd better pick up that phone because Alex fucking called it.
Oh
It said
yeah.
that yep. Neil Patrick Harris is playing the toy maker, who sounds,
Mhm.
I would say, German.
Yeah.
More German now. He is.
So
Just
they're very much
generally that
they're
part of Europe.
they're very much going from, well, this character was a racist caricature of Chinese, including a racially loaded term, but we're dropping that completely and hoping nobody
Mm.
notices.
Yeah, I mean
Well,
it's
let's
very
let's face
telling.
let's face facts. There's some weird qualms about that particular story. If you look a little bit
Yeah,
hard.
that's not the only problem with the story for sure.
All
Yeah.
I'm gonna say is eeny meeny miny mo.
Yeah.
Hmm.
God. But yeah, uh that was like it's very telling that when they finally clarified that yes, this is the toy maker, that it was specifically just the toy maker
Yeah,
and not the celestial
Hmm.
toy maker.
it doesn't matter. It's still the
And
same
like
character.
yeah. And like even and it's kind of funny because in a way Chibnall kind of inadvertently foreshadowed this because like toy maker gets like an offhand mention in Can You Hear Me?
Mm.
I
It
think it
might have been on
was.
purpose. Well, no, because
Hmm.
RTD was involved in this, not Chibnall. Yeah.
Right, yeah. It's like again, like inadvertently because it was just a matter of well, we're handling like cosmic level entities in this episode, so I'll name
Hmm.
drop a bunch of
Yeah.
old ones,
The-
and it's like just kind of happened to work out that the toy maker came back. I
What
still
what
this
I
still to me basically says that, and I hope they go there now. Is that that's what this means? Is the way the regeneration happened with the clothes changing and all that means that the toy maker is fucking with it, and I do kind of hope it's we don't have any evidence to support it, but my hope is that this means that a through line in these specials is going to be toxic nostalgia
Hmm.
because it's the toy maker forcing back
Mm.
an old face and like again like toxic nostalgia, not like nostalgia on its own
Mhm.
is neutral, but
So
the idea of you could maybe make something out of that
I
with
don't
this kind of
dislike
a
that as a
setup.
concept. My one concern there is, so for the 60th anniversary special, this
Yeah.
the entire the special is going to hinge around "fuck you, toxic fans." Um,
Yeah,
I
not sure
don't.
I
that'll pan
mean,
over very well.
to be fair, that would be a very Russell thing to do, especially at
Mm,
this point in his career, where he just is like stopped giving a shit and is like the BBC are just gonna
On
have
the
to
other
deal with
hand,
it.
it was Russell's nostalgia that instead of letting us
Hmm.
start with the new Doctor, caused us to bring back an old Doctor that
Right.
had
Yeah.
had
But
his
like, yeah,
time.
like
So,
generally, even if it's not necessarily toxic nostalgia, if the idea is like, hey, we have to move forward and stop like hinging on the past kind of a thing. If there's kind of even if it's not like the banging you over the head message of it, if it's just like an element of it, that would be kind of nice.
mhm.
And it would make again, it would make sense of like, well, the toy maker's forced an old face back. So it's like and it's one of those things of like Russell is such a troll that it's one of those things of okay, is this technically a regeneration or is this technically still 13 but with 10's face? And then we'll find out at the end like he is like Gartwa is still the 14th because it's just Russell
Mm.
being a troll.
Yeah, I
uh
honestly I don't like the idea that it would go with that he flat out said, no, this is the 14th, and then Katwa's the 15th, and then go back on it, like that would kind of sit uncomfortably with me.
Yeah.
I
That
was a
being
little
said, I could
amused.
see it.
I had just had the thought, hey, what if he's playing the master of the land of fiction?
Mm.
And then immediately I saw the tweet saying this is the toy maker. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
never mind.
Nope.
I think the
Still
toy
on that
maker
one.
and the toy maker and the master of the land of fiction are like the two theories I saw people bring up of what it
Which
could
it
be.
makes sense there. When you look at them, they're very similar characters. They're both uber powerful, existing in a realm outside of time and space from the black and white era of Doctor Who. Like, we
Yeah.
would get more characters like that as time goes on. We would get the black and white Guardian. We would get the Gods of Ragnarok, Fenric. We would get the ones from the Black Guardian trilogy. I don't remember what to call them. I don't remember if the third Doctor ever had anything like that. Oh, fucking Omega.
Omega, yeah.
Yeah, he does. He was a Time Lord, but he does live in his own pocket universe where he's uber powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he's still around. He just needed to piece things together again after his last failed attempt. But anyways,
All right,
that's the trailer.
so this is rather than try to go through the trailer and pause a bunch, our next few pieces are actually breakdowns of put together by Cultbox of what we know about each of the specials so far. So, on one hand, I don't necessarily see them having a source of saying which is which, but on the other hand, I also know they track filming super closely. They track all of this stuff super closely. So if there's anyone other than the BBC that I would trust to do a breakdown like this, it's Cultbox. So the first one, the first special being the Star Beast, named I'm assuming for Beep the Meep.
Maybe.
Or
the things after Meep.
Yeah. Which Beep refers to as monsters, but based on the backstory, I think they're actually more supposed to be the cops chasing him. Although,
but it does depend upon what version of the story they're going to go with, too. Because you never know. They could throw us a flip.
So we have, Star London skyline, the Doctor popping out, and seeing Donna. So, question is, did he go here on purpose, or was the TARDIS acting of its own accord? Considering it's been a new regeneration, probably the TARDIS acting of its own accord.
The TARDIS always takes him where he needs to be, never where he wants to go.
Then, we get a bit of Donna, a bit of Rose Noble.
The pod.
Yep.
Okay, having scrolled down further, they do refer to the Meep's enemies, the Wrath Warriors, who basically kind of look like bug equivalent of the Ice Warriors to a point.
Kind of, sort of.
Well, we need Ice Warriors in a Donna story. She calls everything a Martian.
Yeah, we do literally need to have her find a Martian finally.
Donna Noble and the Martians. I forgot Wilf was going to be in this story, which is nice considering he died shortly after filming.
Yeah, got at least a final episode in. You know what actually they look like? They kind of look like a cross between an Ice Warrior and a Kamen Rider.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially in the face.
Yeah, especially the face.
still haven't scrolled down far enough to. Oh, there they are. Oh yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost like some sort of cricket men.
Very much so on some of these lower ones here. Holy smokes. Inspired a bit much with these costumes, were you? If one of them gets on a motorcycle, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that would be a twist if we encounter Shocker.
Yeah, all of a sudden we also have a bunch of guys in luchadors masks also after Beep the Meep. And it's like, wait, what the hell's even going on with the story?
Yeah, we have Unit against the Earth Warriors.
I see rocket launchers being fired. Also see what looks like a lot of bodies.
At minimum unconscious bodies, but
At minimum, but it's hard to say.
yeah. Doctor Who usually does not shy from the bloodshed.
They don't go
Although
like
they shy
graphic, but
from
they
the
don't
blood.
shy away from people
Yeah.
still getting knocked out permanently.
That's right. We
Yeah.
have the guy with the glowing eyes, which
Mhm.
I don't think we know much about yet.
Mm.
And
Unless is anyone super familiar with the Beep the Meep like comics and stuff?
pretty
Nope.
sure I read the first one, but it's been a long time.
Gotcha.
It's been, gosh, that's got to been since like 2006. I actually got like old copies from a comic book store back in the day. Not sure who this lady in the suit is, but she's apparently here for a couple scenes.
And I think she's supposed to appear in multiple episodes. But yeah, she's the one who in the trailer the doctor's like, "Oh yeah, if Donna remembers me, then she's going to die." Which feels like a lot to unload on a random stranger.
Right.
So
Yeah. This going by the picture underneath, I was like, "Oh right, this is the person who is seemingly going to be at least acting as a companion for a special, maybe multiple, we don't know. Who is the first disabled companion, if that's the case."
they made a big deal that the TARDIS was wheelchair accessible. I was like, yeah, welcome to the 90s, I guess. But yeah, they wouldn't have made such a big deal of that and then introduced a seemingly recurring character in a wheelchair if she's not going to go on the TARDIS at some point.
Right.
Well, I will say this: the alien craft does have bug eyes too, but it's not a motorcycle. And then we see a bunch of cracks in the cityscape, so quite a bit of damage going on there, it looks like.
Yeah. Looks like Flux all over again.
Let's not.
All right, let's move on to the next episode, being Wild Blue Yonder. And here, this is we get the scene where from the trailer where Donna's like, "Oh, it's so bad that the TARDIS ran away. Well, let's go kick whatever it is arse." Or it sounds more to me like she's saying ass, but I guess that's the thing about like British accents when you don't pronounce the R.
Right.
But that this is already we're in a second episode, and here's Donna traveling in the TARDIS. So,
And that's
but
a
without
nice fancy corridor I've seen here.
Notably, Rose is not in this scene, so it might
So
just
far.
be Donna and the Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor Donna, if you will.
And the Doctor messing around with a machine.
They might be in some sort of space station or something.
Seems like it. Did a big glowy thing, and that's about it.
Yeah. So we have relatively little about this one. And then we move on to the third one, the Giggle. which
Speaking of
is where,
motorcycles,
yep, this is where all of the footage of Neil Patrick Harris is.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, someone on a police bike with a glowing helmet?
Hmm.
Or at least a bright helmet.
They got some sort
Yeah.
of part of their helmet that's definitely a bright orange color of some kind for some reason.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, and we get
Like,
more
yeah, look.
unit.
It's Yaz with a mohawk.
Oh, and we get Mel apparently.
Oh, that's right.
Hmm.
Mel was, I
Is
think
part
Mel
of the
was seen
specials, yeah.
filming it. Ah, yes, there she is with the unit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so this is the episode where everybody seems to be like rioting or like going,
Hmm.
losing their minds. Um,
I will say it's
and you,
kind of glad that this article brings it back up as well. But when that helipad showed up, I was like, "Hey, that looks vaguely familiar." And then it occurred to me, "Oh yeah, it's that one we like reported on there being shots of them filming on
yeah,
one." And it was
yep.
speculation on whether that was going to be for the specials or like series 14
It was
or
like they found it with like Google Earth, right?
something like that. I think, yeah.
Yep. So here, why does Unit have a big fucking skyscraper HQ with Unit on the side? Aren't they a covert operation?
Hmm.
Now founded by Tony Stark. And creepy
I mean, unless
marionette
the idea is
faces
that.
on the screen. Don't know why.
And yeah, we haven't mentioned it, but Donna is also in this one we see.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Well, I guess if you're gonna
Oh, and
if they're really
also,
leaning into toy maker, then marionettes and that.
that's in one of the images with Donna and Kate. I think that's also what's her name from the first episode.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that's her. So
So
yeah,
she's around for the third one.
Shirley and Bingham as Ruth Madley. So I guess yeah, she's still here for the third special, which
Hmm.
implies that she traveled there either by helicopter or by TARDIS
Either or.
Hmm. So
or
yeah, like
both. By
yeah,
by
and
helicopter
and I
carrying a
guess,
TARDIS.
hmm. And I guess the way that they've at least showed us, marketed it, etc. so far, it's likely she's not a carryover to Gatwa. So this might just be that she's effectively like an additional
Mhm.
companion just for the
She
specials.
might be
But
Donna's
you never know.
companion. I don't know.
Mm.
The galvanic
We have a
beam.
scene where it looks like a bunch of dummy heads, which Kolpax noted has historical significance of early television. Um, but it seems to be the toy maker taunting Unit or taunting the Doctor. It looks like the Doctor is going Super Saiyan. His hair is sticky uppy in a different way than normal.
Well, he messes with his hair, you know.
So you see the image I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. Well, he's not gone full Super Saiyan yet. It's not glowing yellow.
Yeah, it's not blonde.
Or blue.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
And then yeah, look.
I
Okay, yeah,
guess,
we
yeah,
have.
the one thing we don't have full context for yet, and I'm assuming it's the one thing that we won't until the specials start airing, is the whole like Gartwa in this sort of who knows what, just kind of shouting, "What the hell is going on here?"
Right.
Where
Which
again,
I mean that
to to
presumably that
me,
would be the tenant regenerating at the end of the episode into him, but we don't know that
mm,
for sure.
yeah, like it could be a matter of staving off maybe there'll be a thing again where it's like staving off the next
Mm-hmm.
regeneration, so he'll actually get to meet his next form to be like, why the fuck haven't I shown up yet?
It's also noteworthy. Yeah, he's only in this like featureless, cloudy background, so that
Mm.
could be a mindscape of some sort.
Yeah. That
Which that might have
for the
been what you were
moment, that's my
suggesting there,
guess. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Where it's like they'll have a kind of, I guess, literal meeting of the minds in that case.
Hmm.
Sort of like the thing with all the classic, or just generally pre-new Who doctors that showed up in Power of the Doctor kind of a thing.
We can call Paul classic.
Paul's a classic Doctor now. Just because he only
Yep.
had one episode doesn't mean he's any less of a Doctor.
Well, yeah. Oh no, it's one of those funny things where like people can be very finicky about. Well, it's an isolated thing between both eras. Where
Yeah.
would he like? I definitely would count like
It
if
was
someone put
only
a gun to my head.
called New
Yeah, yeah,
Who
yeah.
when Russell took
Eh,
over. It's
Right,
classic
right.
Who
Yeah.
now.
I think
It
at
is
this
one of
point,
those.
both Big Finish and the BBC treat him as it's the
Yeah.
first 8 and then 9 on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely one of those things where, like, if someone made me put him somewhere, it would definitely be classic because it'd be weird to count him with new. But
Heck, he
And
was getting
that
more adventures
is
as New Who happened.
and that is all of the special breakdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna
Mhm.
reclose some of these, and then I think there was. Oh no, that is it on the 60th anniversary specials. So now I pass
Christmas
to
special.
Alex with future episodes.
Yep. First up, we have some stuff about Doctor Who filming the Christmas special in Cardiff. Let's see.
What I found most
Seemingly
interesting here was that it says 2023 Christmas special,
right.
which I thought was done and that they were doing next year's one, considering I think they've filmed next season already. Um,
Hmm. Which, I mean, seemingly this is like principal photography apparently wrapped for it in February, so this is additional shooting.
hmm.
Is what the article is saying. And I think it's just a matter of, from what I remember, like, Moffat was very, we need Christmas specials.
Uh-huh.
Chibnall thought, and it's funny to me. I kind of agree. Like, I forget his exact stance, but that Chibnall thought that the possibly, like, grain of salt. This is me just like vague recollections that Chibnall was like, did not particularly care about having a Christmas special because that was kind of tired by that point. And I would argue he kind of had a point, but now that it's been long enough, that going back to it is like, okay, it's been long enough that we can probably do some fresh stuff with Christmas specials again.
Talking about this is reminding me. It's of course it's been a while since we last streamed, right? But I think
Mm.
after this episode, I mean, after this article came out, that I saw a tweet saying David Tennant has now wrapped filming. So I'm wondering if he appears in this Christmas special.
Could be. I mean,
Maybe
like,
has a very quick appearance.
it might. I guess it'll depend on, is he going to regenerate to go at the end of the final anniversary special,
Mm-hmm.
or is it gonna be like with Smith to Capaldi, where the Christmas special is where the regeneration happens?
I hadn't looked at the images on this, but there's an image I had not seen of. It's one of Shooty Gatwa's body doubles
Mm-hmm.
in a in a leather jacket and a kilt.
Just remind me of Demo Man from Team Fortress 2. I don't think he has a leather jacket, but I do think he has some sort of protective vest.
Ah,
I'm surprised he doesn't have a kilt. He is Scottish.
Which to me, that like if it is his first story, then that could be part of a thing of like him trying to figure out what his outfit's gonna be, like his recurring
Possibly.
outfit.
Yeah.
Is he's just going through all these random things that he's throwing on, and then eventually settles on something by the end.
Maybe by like the last
Um,
couple episodes or so of the season. Something lands on something
Although-
solid. He's like, you know what? Yeah, this is
Yeah.
kind of timeless. This will work.
Mm.
Yeah.
Although generally I do, as much as I am fine with the like, I like the Doctor having like a solid outfit. I do like the fact that we have like we've covered before that like clearly this is going to be a Doctor who is going to change outfits to fit the period that they're
At least a
visiting.
bit, yeah.
Hmm. Let's see. It is funny how a lot of these like screenshots are just like a tree at a distance. With his Christmas lights and stuff. um
Ooh, excuse me. Well, to be fair, it is Christmas decorations in the middle of September.
Which I mean, depending on the area, isn't even that out of place, which is still bizarre to me. There are places in my hometown that are already selling Christmas stuff, and it's like, it's October, give it a minute.
The only place I will allow to have Christmas stuff this early is a Menards or a Fleeton Farm, just because they're a factory, more of a outdoorsy kind of place, as well as a building or home repair kind of place. And you want to get your home repair stuff for the holidays out as soon as possible. So I can kind of understand that. They literally have a section of those stores fenced off for that season. And maybe 3 or 4 months out of the year, they'll switch it to something else.
Like,
and then they'll have Halloween right next to
it. Like, yeah, I'm Australian, and like Halloween is like not entirely a thing here. I mean, it's a very US holiday, but it's still like October still feels too early.
No, yeah, October outside of those couple of stores, October is still way too damn early. They need to knock that shit off.
Yes. But the question is, do they bring out the Mariah Carey Christmas that early?
No, not yet.
Thankfully, not where I live. They've gotten good about holding back on that these days.
They might start bringing it out sometime just after Thanksgiving. Or if they're looping
I mean,
the week before.
I think it's
Mariah
often
Carey will be teasing it.
Considering when I was in retail 15 years ago, Black Friday started a week before Thanksgiving. So,
Black Friday's
and I think
not
by
until...
then we were already sick of the Christmas music.
Black Friday isn't until the Friday after Thanksgiving. Knock it off, Christmas. Snap book. Mousetrap on somebody's hand. Snap. Stop touching the radio. And even then, now the last couple...
The thing about capitalism is how Black Friday has moved to countries without Thanksgiving. Like England. Speaking of which, how did we get on this topic?
Christmas stuff.
I think, and I think we were also just kind of... I'd seen that you would BRB'd, so I was kind of riffing to buy time.
I was more on the aim of, okay, you could talk about the next article, but I would make sure I'm back by the time you get to the one after that.
So I suppose, yeah, it's just decorations and stuff. So next one is the iPlayer.
Yep. I'm probably just going to quote this a bit directly. The thing.
Not the whole thing, I hope.
Oh, no. But yeah, but from DoctorWho's.net, we have that to mark the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who, the BBC is making over 800 episodes. Let's face it, a lot of those are going to be telesnaps, but 800 episodes of the series and its spin-offs available on iPlayer. The episodes will be released on iPlayer from the start of next month, and this is from this month, so yes, that is going to be November.
I wonder what version of the Celestial Toy Maker are they gonna put up?
Some people have seen hints that the animated ones will be there.
Ah, okay. I didn't remember if they animated yet or not. That's right. They did.
I don't think it's been an official announcement, but like, I think people in England who actually know what the fuck iPlayer looks like have seen things. They're like, "Oh, I wonder why they're drawing attention to the animated episodes." So,
yeah, seeming like
please buy them.
Yeah. So yeah, generally there'll be episodes from classic, new, Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood Class, Doctor Who Confidential. I'm assuming also K9 and Company, even though it's just a
I was
one-off.
just about to
So
say, I'm like, I
they
wonder
wouldn't
about
name
K9
it.
and Company.
Yeah, like they don't name it, but I just guess it's because it's not a series; it's a one-off.
All the episodes of
K9.
K9 and Company will be up there.
Oh, one of them.
Yeah. Seemingly Russell T Davies was interviewed and would thanks to BBC for finally getting most of everything under one roof at long last, and is excited for people to be able to finally watch them all seemingly in one place. It's funny that they're bothering with iPlayer, because I would have just gone, let's just put it all on BritBox. But
well, I don't really know that they have BritBox over there though. That's for like outside of the UK.
Well, yeah,
right,
true,
yeah,
true. So yeah, it's definitely within the UK. That being said, just throwing this out there, clearly no one from BBC is ever going to watch this, but if you do, if you could put Sarah Jane Adventures and I think Torchwood, I forget it, that may be on there or not, but at the very least, if you could put Sarah Jane Adventures on BritBox, that'd be great, because it's not on there.
I know. At least
BritBox has
as of
classic and new here.
At least as of before, at least on the US side, I think BritBox had classic, HBO had new, including the spin-offs. But I'm wondering if does because I don't. Well, Matt, you don't have. Do you have a Disney Plus account?
No.
That's what I thought. Okay, because I think by the time the specials come around, Doctor Who is supposed to have moved to Disney Plus in the States.
That's right.
That's actually worldwide.
It's worldwide.
But,
okay.
Yeah,
I didn't want to make assumptions because
from what I can,
I know in
what I
England
can
it's going to be on the BBC and iPlayer.
Yeah. From what I can recall, like outside of the UK at least, the new stuff is going to go straight to Disney Plus, and it's a matter of, something tells me that might be why Disney might be pushing to be like, hey, we're giving you a bunch of money, give us some spin-offs, because maybe they're not going to be getting classic Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood, etc.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why
really
they're like,
weird if you
we'll
watch
throw
Doctor
some money
Who on HBO Max and Doctor Who on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because like generally, I think
said England. I said England as though the BBC only operated in England. It's all over the UK.
But yeah, I think the way it was phrased was generally that, at least for now, maybe like an additional deal will have to be made to get all the back catalog of stuff. But at least the deal that we've covered on the podcast before was basically maybe these specials, but at the very least from series 14 onwards would be on Disney Plus. If not, I think it might be the specials as well. Because I definitely know that ABC iView here made it pretty clear that because of that, they didn't like directly mention the deal, I don't think, but it was basically, because they're getting it, we're not going to be able to have it anymore.
Well, I need to know what to sub to when we do our look back at the Chibnall era, because I'm going to be very annoyed if I get Disney Plus for specifically that, and it's all on HBO Max or Amazon Prime or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I know anyone that has Disney Plus. I know my sister did for a while, but I think they kind of ran out of decent things to watch and gave up on it.
I have it, but I haven't used it in a while.
So,
I was
so my
sharing an
nephews are
account,
mostly
and
watching Netflix again.
every so often I'm like, I should get it because there's a lot of Star Wars and MCU stuff that I need to catch up on, but I just haven't. And also, had decision paralysis because on one
Yeah.
hand I wanted to watch DC stuff, Doctor Who, and Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn being separate from DC because that's an ongoing show that I wanted to watch the new
The Harley
season
Quinn
of.
animated, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I hear is
And on
like
the
the
other
best
hand, of
thing
course,
going
I
on
wanted to watch
for
Star
DC
Wars
right
and
now is that
Marvel.
the Harley Quinn animated show.
For real. Like it.
The rest of the stuff has been kind of struggling.
Yeah.
Where's my electric car, Bruce?
So yes, so this iPlayer news segues into our next bit of news.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Related to this directly is the fact that of all of the stuff that is going to be on iPlayer, 800 episodes across multiple shows, one of those will not be an Unearthly Child, which I'm assuming is the entire story.
Yes.
Given
They
the
say
way
the
it's
first
worded,
4
yes.
episodes.
Yeah, first 4 episodes, yeah. Basically, seemingly because they do not have the rights to them, which seems bizarre to me.
Which, yeah, we were talking about that for like 20 minutes before the podcast.
Right? Yeah. Like
Copyright
just
law when it comes to early Doctor Who is fucking weird. And I would love to hear from a British copyright expert to really explain how this shit works.
Yeah, and what the actual
just-
issue is here.
Interestingly enough, one of the tweets here does say from Steph Anthony Coburn, who is the was it grand
The
son
son.
or something, like, yeah, just son
The
directly,
son. Yeah.
was the of the writer of An Unearthly Child. Seemingly is just saying on Twitter that a while back I cancelled the BBC's license to show or use in any way my late father's 4 first ever Doctor Who episodes comprising the Tribe of Gum. Now, that specific wordage of comprising the Tribe of Gum tells me that's what the issue is. They maybe own
that's just
literally
one of
the first
that's
episode.
one of the names of that serial.
Right. But like the fact that he's calling for specific attention to the Tribe of Gum section of it, which is the bulk of it, to be fair. But that to me says they have an easier time with. They would maybe be able to have an easier time arguing for ownership of the first episode, but because it's lumped as together as a serial of 4 episodes, they can't. Because again, like, yeah, we were talking about this before. I'm like, literally the first episode, An Unearthly Child, is a lot, I would think, would be a lot more gray area because, yeah, he wrote it, but it would have been everyone above him going, okay, we need this and this and this, rather than just, again, as I said before we started, this wasn't like him coming to them with a show idea. Like, whereas, like, Terry Nation came up with the Daleks, so they had to have him. He either did it every time, or they needed his permission. They went away for so long because he wanted to have a Dalek
I
show.
think Coburn was the one who wrote the TARDIS as a police box. So that, of course, the first episode, that's a major plot point as well.
I mean, to be fair, if it was that specific, then there's no way the TARDIS would still be a police box. If that was something that they had to attribute to him every time, I feel like the BBC are that cheap that they would have changed it. I mean, for all we know, maybe that's like some weird, never been revealed reason why why Colin Baker randomly is able to get it working again, but not really for a bit there. But probably not. That's overthinking it. But like,
Yeah. Like
I mean, it'd be funny. But
we could spend 30 minutes trying to hash out what the copyright law
Mm.
is. Ultimately, it comes down to we don't really know, and it's all speculation.
Mm. Also, Steph Anthony Carbone is claiming that potentially doing all of this and trying to lay claim to the story themselves or something seemingly is what did his father in, and if that doesn't get him put into court, I will be very surprised. Like, it would be a bit
He's
of a
not
bad look, but
he's
also
not
this
naming a specific person, so
actually
it might be harder. I don't know.
right. Like, still, as a company, you would think they would be able to be like, well, this is I mean, I don't know how like different defamation is depending on the country, but claiming that your company killed someone or brought on their death, which I guess, to be fair, a lot of people who worked in Early Who, because of those studio conditions, are not
Yeah,
ultimately
I'm
still with
I'm
us
thinking it might
because
be a
of how iffy
combination
the
of
studio
maybe they
conditions
stressed out
were.
his father, but also they took no interest in helping him as he became suddenly ill.
Like
Mm,
Is
he
what it
had a
kind of
heart
reads
attack,
as.
so
yeah.
unless he's suggesting that his father had a heart attack and they just left him on the floor, and never called 999 or anything.
Well,
Um,
the way that he's wording it sounds like it may have been the heart attack that finished him off, but it might have been something else obvious beforehand.
mhm. Like if I would almost believe this more if they said he died of cancer, because everyone in those
Mm,
studios died of cancer.
yeah.
But not as early as the 70s, though. By the 80s, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And like, I can get being pissed. You know, like, fair enough. A company is trying to lay claim to a thing that your dad wrote.
And
I'd be pissed
also,
too.
as one of
But
the articles that
claiming that
they
that
list here, his dad's been kind of glossed over for the work he's done, too.
mm.
Apparently. He's like
And
Yeah,
I
and
will say,
I know people have been pushing recently for him to get more recognition of that
mm,
role. I've just kind of been scrolling
yeah,
around and clicking on the links and
yeah.
such.
Yeah.
I will admit, all this, like, it's very weird that he's effectively, even if it's a heat of the moment thing that he might take back, effectively claiming that the BBC killed his dad. It's just the
I
people
mean,
that
if
I
it's heat of the
saw
moment,
in
he's been
this.
repeatedly saying it and
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
motivation for everything he's
Right.
doing. So,
Like, I would like to say that if anyone who was in that long thing that I saw and I was like scrolling through a bit and here and there on Twitter, I don't care what your opinion on Tribe of Gum is. Don't fucking try to be like, oh, who gives a shit? The Tribe of Gum's crap. He still wrote An Unearthly Child, and that you don't try to negate this guy's opinion on what his dad did by saying 3 out of the 4 episodes was shit, okay? That's not cool,
did I have the Twitter conversation was
especially
going?
with what there were. I saw some things that were like people not giving a shit because, like, oh yeah, well, the Tribe of Gum is crap, so who cares? And it's like, fuck off.
Yeah, yeah, I
He
have an
still
opinion.
wrote the first,
I have something to say
like,
about that, which is that I think their opinions are crap.
You you know what? I think I might have seen a subtweet of that because I saw people talking about how the novelization and the movies got it right by skipping the Tribe of Gum and going straight to the Daleks. And I hadn't connected that to this before, but now that you say that, I think it was
Hmm.
part of the
Yeah,
conversation.
like there was some people that I was seeing in like replies to him directly, or maybe they might have been indirect, but they were like, "Oh, who cares, mate? Like the Tribe of Gum was shit, so like the only thing anyone cares about is the first episode." And it's just like, given the points he's trying to make that his dad deserves more recognition, don't fucking shit all over that.
Now,
With
now
just 3 out of the 4 were
that
crap. That's like,
that said,
that's not the point.
part of his offer to the BBC included like they must greenlight one of his father's failed pilots as well as paying a monetary sum. So it's like
Mm,
Okay, that's going a little
he,
overboard.
he's not exactly
yeah.
being the reasonable party either.
Right. Right.
And like it's basically like I think he's made it clear like this is a revenge campaign. He basically
Mm.
wants to extort the BBC without it might not legally be
Right,
extortion,
yeah.
but that's functionally what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And actually given our conversation about the TARDIS, he talks about the BBC registering his father's IP as their trademark in 1976. I wonder if that's when like they officially trademarked the TARDIS or something, or if that's completely unrelated
Could
and has
be.
nothing to do with that.
Mm.
Because obviously Doctor Who's not the only thing he wrote. Um, it's just
Yeah.
what we know him for because that's what we talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And like,
And of course, that's why this is becoming big is because he's withholding Doctor Who, right?
Yeah.
yeah. And like, it's gonna, if nothing else, like, I'll give him credit for sticking to it because a lot of people were caved just because the amount of asshole toxic people that are going to come down on him with death threats and shit over withholding
Yeah.
some one slither of Doctor Who that, to be honest, you can find elsewhere anyway. I can watch it on BritBox. Like,
Oh,
VPNs
so
exist, people in the UK. Just
I
saying.
I don't know what the source of this is, so grain of salt, bucket of salt, whatever. But I've seen multiple sources at least claiming that because of this, DVD sales of An Unearthly Child have skyrocketed.
I was
So the
just contemplating
BBC,
that myself.
so of course
Mm.
iPlayer people don't pay per episode on iPlayer. It's basically free
Yeah.
if you watch TV in the UK.
Mm.
Whereas if they buy the DVD, the BBC's directly profiting off of
Yeah. So if anything, they're probably kind of happy that it's working out and that it's actually
it.
bringing some
Yeah,
money in. Like they're willing to just, as long as that DVD keeps selling as a result, they'll be happy.
yep. All right. So I think we've said enough about that article.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have one more piece of news on your end.
Yep. So let's see. Once again, I'll probably be a bit direct quoting-ish, but obviously not the whole thing. The BBC has announced a new behind-the-scenes series on Doctor Who, coming to BBC Three this autumn. Doctor Who Unleashed is a brand new Access All Areas show, giving viewers an unmissable sight into the world of Doctor Who. So,
And by
again,
a
we're
new
getting
show, we mean a new version of an old show.
right. To be fair, this will be longer because this says that it's going to be a 30-minute factual entertainment series. Whereas, the idea with Confidential, at least from what I recall, was effectively that it would be like to fill up the full hour. So you'd have like Doctor Who going for 42 to 45 minutes, and then another 15 minutes or so of that would be Confidential to fill up a full hour.
Whereas when we watch a 42-minute show in the US, that's more than an hour after commercials.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which might be why this is just like, let's make this its own side thing that's not going to air directly after. At least I'm giving that it's going to be on, at least in the UK, it's going to be on BBC Three and iPlayer. And that, yeah, that to me says like they realize, okay, let's go a bit more in depth with this than we could get away with in 15-minute things. Which, I guess to be fair, there are probably going to be some episodes where it's like you probably only need about 15 minutes to get across everything you really want to without stretching. But definitely it's going to be interesting to see the ones for this for. I assume it's going to start with the specials.
They say starting
I
this
don't-
November, so I would believe so.
Yeah, that would make sense then. Yeah.
We're
And yeah,
starting this autumn, sorry, but that's the only
right.
thing
Yeah.
happening this autumn in Doctor Who.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would make the most sense if it was like effectively special comes out and either the next day or a couple days later or just in the gap in between Unleashed comes out, because I do not think this mentions if it is a case of it'll air right after but on a different channel, or if it's going to be directly after, because while there are
Well,
some like interview excerpts from RTD, just quickly like scanning them, it does not seem to be a mention if they will be technically airing directly after,
Well,
or if
to
it'll
say
be
that, they would have to tell us the air date,
right. True.
which I think
Oh,
that's a good.
I guess to be fair, not really. They could basically just be like, when the specials air, directly after it, this, or like day after or whatever. Like, I would feel like especially for the specials, it would have to be day after, because there's gonna be like hour and a half, maybe 2 hour specials. So each. So it's like, unless they're trying to fill a 2 hour time slot in the UK anyway, I would assume it'll be a matter of like special next day, or again, like between the special that it's for and the next special is when it'll happen. But yeah, I think that's about really all we've got for that. But yeah,
Okay.
like, 'cause he does directly mention Confidential in one of the RTD excerpts, so it's him basically like continuing the grand tradition of Confidential. So they're not being like,
Right,
oh,
right.
they're at least not trying to be like, oh, this is an entirely new thing. No, it's just a revamped version of the old thing. But I
Which
did say, I
which
do
is
like trying
refreshing, considering sometimes they're like, that new show Doctor Who that started in 2005.
So, I just ordered my copy of Doctor Who: The Beginning. Yep. I joined in the group. I'm like, I was actually just thinking of that before you guys mentioned it. I'm like, you know what? How much is it worth? Well, it's the first 3 stories, and it's only $22. Heck of a fine.
So let's go on to current cast and crew news, which this actually has a little bit more information than I thought it did, and I might have put it somewhere else had I realized that. But the first thing, so this was RTD was interviewed by Doctor Who magazine, and so yeah, I gave some specific dates, and actually since that time, Cultbox has filled in at least some of what he was probably referring to. But he basically said to watch out for 3 dates: November 1, November 17, and November 23, and that none of these would be the dates of the special's transmission. So
But might
Cultbox
be
says that's
date drops.
probably November 1 is referring to the iPlayer news. November 17 is probably referring to Children in Need. And November 23, this wouldn't be anything new. They list it as, 60th anniversary of the first Doctor Who broadcast, of course. But what I find especially relevant about that is this is confirmation that none of the specials will be aired on the actual anniversary. So the question then is, will they all be aired before the 23rd? Or will they be aired, a little later in November, including after the 23rd?
Yeah.
But also mentioned by RTD is that there will be a Doctor Who series in 2025, so he's committed not to be taking year-long breaks. And that it will once again be in 8 episodes plus a Christmas special, so the same as 2024. So that seems to be the pattern he wants to stick with.
Fair enough.
And also some directors for that season have been announced. Alex Pillai is directing Block 1, and Peter Hoare, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, is the director of Block 2. So that is that bit of news. The last bits, of course, we have our media releases. So we've got a new Lethbridge Stewart, the third title in the final series of Candy Jar Books Lethbridge Stewart novels, which is United Nations, written by Jonathan Blum. I would possibly go into more detail, but we've been podcasting for almost an hour and a half, and we have yet to be close to the episode.
Yeah.
So moving on. Oh, actually, we've been live for over an hour and a half, but I don't know when we officially went green.
It was
Also,
around 10:30 or a
media
little later.
releases. 10 Acre Films is releasing a biography of David Whittaker. David Whittaker in an exciting adventure with television by Simon Guerrier. It will be published on the 6th of November and is available for pre-order. David Whittaker, if you don't know, I believe he was the first script editor of Doctor Who. He also wrote many classic episodes, including Edge of Destruction, Power of the Daleks, Evil of the Daleks, and others. So, a very influential figure in Doctor Who. One of those people that tends to overshadow Anthony Coburn when we talk about the history of Doctor Who. But yeah, so moving past that, we have a new graphic novel has been announced by Titan Comics named Once Upon a Time Lord. So this is a 10th Doctor and Martha Jones story, and is being released for the 60th anniversary, and is being published on the 7th of November in hardcover and Kindle.
Interesting. I can't remember if it was Titan Comics or somebody else, but somebody else was getting a bunch of comic books recently too. I thought it was
probably
Titan.
Titan. They have the official comic license, so unless it was something
I
unusual,
mean
it would have been
from
Titan.
not from Doctor Who, but from somebody else.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then I
They
don't know.
were getting a slew of stuff, like a lot of stuff. All of a sudden, I think it was Titan, but I can't remember for sure now. I had to double check that. Be crazy if it's Titan, because Titan would be then very busy.
You're right. And then Alex can go over a rapid fire of Big Finish while I drink some water and remind myself of what to talk about in the summary.
So yep, as far as new releases go on Big Finish, since we're not covering any upcoming, on the 14th of September, we had the release of Torchwood Dog Hop, written by Stuart Pringle and Lauren Mooney, and starring Tim Price. On the 19th of September, we had Rose Tyler, The Dimension Canon 3 Trapped, released, written by Lizzie Hopley, Tim Foley, and Helen Goldwyn, starring Billy Piper and Camille Kaduri. On the 21st of September, we had Doomsday, Dying Hours, written by Jacqueline Rayner, Simon Clark, Robert Valentine, and Lizzie Hopley, and starring Suze Kempner. On the 28th of September, we had Gallifrey War Room 2 Maneuvers, written by Catherine Armitage, Theo Trethui. Apologize if I butchered that surname, but there we go. And Georgia Cook, starring Louise Jameson and Ken Bones. In October On the 5th, we had Once in Future Time Lord Immemorial released, written by.
Mhm.
On the 11th of October, we had the release of the Third Doctor Adventures Intelligence for War, written by Eddie Robson and starring Tim Treloar and John Coleshaw. And finally, on the 17th, we had the release of Paternoster Gang Trespassers 1 Rogues Gallery, written by Barnaby Kay, Dan Starkey, and Lisa McMullen, starring Neve McIntosh and Katrin Stewart.
Actually,
That's
one
it for Big
comment on
Finish.
that list. We finally know what story Chris Eccleston was talking about when he talked about recording with David Warner.
Yep.
Mm.
All right. So I am
Definitely is a
somewhat
good thing that we're skipping Geek Talk this week. How long
yes.
have been going?
I'm
We
somewhat
sat and
frustrated.
rambled a little too long on a few things.
I'm somewhat frustrated by the fact that the internet does not seem to have a plot synopsis of this episode, but I will do my best to get less than 30 seconds per episode. Just give me a countdown whenever.
All right, back over. So, starting in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. The Doctor is fiddling with the TARDIS, trying to fix it, as he does in season 7. And suddenly, the second Doctor, or a vision of the second Doctor, appears, telling him that talking to himself is a sign of madness. Uh, he then calls Liz because the Brigadier has called him, and they need to go out to the Bluegate docks because an anonymous tip has said that unit is needed there. They go out and they meet uh, Detective Chief Inspector Denise Walker, who seems to just be completely against unit being there at all. But there is a car with one of the cops that has been sunken and is surrounded by some sort of green substance that the cops seem to be claiming is just nothing, regular pollution, nothing to be worried about. And they're continuing to object to unit's presence. They not exhume, but they pull the body and the car out of the water, and allegedly send the body to be, uh, damn it,
Examined.
Autopsy?
yeah, autopsied. There we go. I'm like, I know the word autopsy. I'm just my brain is not on that. But for whatever reason, the doctor that's supposed to be there is not, and is replaced with another doctor who just says the guy died by drowning, and has no mention of the green substance that seems to be all over the place. The group continue to kind of split up and investigate. Liz is investigating the green substance. Uh, the doctor goes to investigate more about this body. They loop in the doctor who was supposed to perform the autopsy and find out she was hit with some sort of biological weapon to make her just sick for the evening. So as all of this is going on, the green substance comes to life in multiple places and attacks people, killing a unit soldier. But before it can attack the doctor, it transmats away, causing the doctor to go and try to investigate where the transmat is going to. um, yeah, so I want to almost, keep repeating they continue investigating. There's a lot of investigating happening. They bring the correct doctor to look at this body, which they identify as being an alien body. But then she is murdered by an alien weapon. In the midst of all this, the TARDIS has arrived with the second Doctor and Jamie, The second Doctor is kidnapped by the living green substance beings and brought away on a transmat, where Jamie goes and meets up with Liz. And there's some confusion, but Liz is aware that the Doctor has regenerated and had a different face, so she and the Brigadier are not as confused as they could be. The second Doctor is brought to the control room of an alien vessel or an alien base, where he is observing everything that's going on. And the two Doctors independently find out that a super dense star that affects gravity and affects time through gravity and through relativity, kind of, if you squint at the theory of relativity, uh, is on its way to Earth, and these green substance aliens called the Grestronor are planning to manipulate it in some way. The other group of aliens, called the Helt and led by DCI Walker, convince UNIT that the Grestronor are planning to destroy the Earth. However, as you know, the UNIT is fighting the Grestronor. They find that this is actually a ploy. The Helt have been trying to destroy the Earth. The Grestronor came to stop this star from destroying the Earth, and the Helt are trying to keep it to cause it to destroy the Earth. Eventually, due to the cop that had called in the anonymous tip, they managed to figure everything out. Even though most of the Helt and Grestronor have been killed by this point, but they managed to stop her from stopping everything. The Grestronor save Earth, which reminds everyone, hey, this is a Nick Briggs story, so there's a slingshot effect. Actually, all of this never happened, and only the second Doctor gets to remember anything. The end.
Actually, I would argue that the third Doctor at least remembers bits of it because he seems
He remembers
thrown
that
off.
he forgot it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got that done in 5 minutes, and I believe that was originally 36 seconds.
I think that's the longest summary I've ever given.
To be fair, it's covering like a 3-hour plus story.
Yeah.
To be fair.
I think even if it had been my turn this week and I'd written one out, I probably still would have gone about 5
And
minutes.
it was
or
a
closer.
complex multi-Doctor, multi-alien faction. Like, this wasn't fucking the Silurians or something like that.
Like, if I tried to, like, cheat and, like, thingo it down, I would have just been a lot of, like, they investigate, they go here, something happens, they investigate, blah, blah, blah. It would have been a lot of very shorthand.
If I had enough brain power ahead of time to focus and cutting out all the unnecessaries, I could maybe have gotten it around 4 minutes. Maybe.
This is definitely
That's a lot of
not
hard
ones like
cleaving.
we've done. Yeah, this is definitely not ones like we've done recently where we can get it done in like 2 or like generally under 3 minutes.
Yeah.
This is gonna take a while regardless.
So, I have elements of Doctor Who on here. We have been going for a while, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But this is, it's not Tim Treloar as the Third Doctor's first appearance, but it's the first full audio we've done with him. It is Michael Troughton's first appearance as his father, and this was kind of a backdoor pilot to the Second Doctor adventures. And it's our first exposure to Daisy Ashford as Liz Shaw. Does anybody have any comments on any of those portrayals? And I'm only lumping them together because it's been, it's been an hour and 45 minutes.
I will say that it was weird the first time through, less weird the second. But the only one that really stood out for me as that's it was Michael Troughton. Like the other two, like Michael Troughton doing his dad, it was very like right energy, the right inflections,
Yes.
And that, and like, yeah, the voice is a little off, but you can forgive that.
And you know the
But
funny thing
because
about that? He
Mm.
specifically said, I forget if this was in the post-episode interviews or something that it was written, but he specifically said he's not going to do a full-on impression. He's aiming for a mixture of himself and the Second Doctor. But yeah, I
yeah,
agree. He nailed the Second Doctor.
yeah, like even though it doesn't sound exactly the same, because he's got all the inflections down, you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like, even in the first go through, he was the one where I'm like, I know it's not Patrick Troughton, but this is
This
the
is
Second
still a
Doctor
solid Patrick
enough.
Troughton. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like David Bradley's first Doctor. Yeah, it's very clearly not William Hartnell. He doesn't sound a thing like him, but he has a lot of the like little nuances down,
Yeah.
so you can go with it. You can buy into it. Whereas, I don't know, something about and like, there's just nothing like against these actors you're having to take over for people that aren't with us.
Well, yeah, they're
Like,
trying to cover very iconic voices and very
yeah,
iconic performances. Yeah.
like Liz sounded a bit off.
I was fine with her. Like, nothing
And
particularly hammered me as that's absolutely Liz
yeah,
or that's absolutely
yeah,
not
yeah,
Liz.
yeah,
It was just
See, I,
okay.
yeah.
I feel like Liz appears in few enough episodes, and I haven't seen her in anything else that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay, she sounds passable enough that without going back and watching a Liz Shaw story right now, I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
But that's me.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that
I
was
couldn't tell you what about Liz Shaw stands out as a unique
right.
character. For the voice, I mean the writing, yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
for the
yeah.
voice.
Yeah. I think just for whatever reason, maybe it was just that somehow, because like she's in, I think, what is it, like 21 episodes total? Like,
Uh,
maybe I've just picked up on enough inflection, because
yeah,
yeah, she said like three. Oh no,
three
yeah, it'd
seven
be
parters.
25, because it's
Oh,
three, or is it? No, it might be 21.
I was
And that would
25
make
is
more
not
sense.
a multiple of 7, so I don't know what you're
Right.
counting.
Because I'm thinking, oh, that's what's. Because what keeps screwing me up is because it's like there's 3 sevens and then a 4 is what I'm tripping
Everything in
on.
season 7 is a 7-parter, and that's why this is a 7-parter. There's nothing that's not a
Right.
7-parter in the season.
Well, Spearhead from Space is a 4, and then it's nothing but
I don't
7s.
think that's right.
Spearhead from Space is a 4-parter, probably just because it was a
Oh,
transition period.
you're right.
And
Okay.
then Silurians, Ambassadors of Death, Inferno are all 7-parters. It's why there's so few stories, because 3 of them are 7 parts long.
Right. Which that's a lot largely for budget reasons.
Yeah, so it will be
Yeah.
25.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I need to rewatch Spearhead
Yeah,
because I
25, yeah.
can't believe I forgot that. You were right. Except you
Yeah.
said the 4 was after the 7.
But yeah, generally the big one for me that, like, again, it's basically nitpicky, because again, as I said, like, it was a bit weird the first time through, but the second time, like, okay, I can go with this. Something's just off about the third Doctor voice.
So I'll say in the first listen, there were a few scenes where he sounded less Third Doctor and more Professor Farnsworth to me from Futurama.
Yeah.
In the second listen, maybe because I was more acclimated to his voice, I did not notice that.
I think it's like there's just a bit too much age in the voice, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, he was.
He does.
When
He does sound
sound
older than Patrick was during. He does sound older than when he was as the Third Doctor back in that time.
Yeah.
He did sound a bit closer to like Third Doctor when he made the guest appearances.
Like in the 5 Doctors.
Like in 5 Doctors, yeah, he sounded a bit more like that version, which does throw off things a little bit. But I will agree that also that his inflections weren't 100% either. That would probably just have to be
Yeah.
something that he would get in time. But the fact that he got any of them at
Mm.
all is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I would say for the vast majority of the story, I could close my eyes and picture it being John Pertwee
Yeah.
by listening.
Mm.
Although on that note, yeah, this is not on there, but I completely forgot listening that this was John Colshaw and not Nick Courtney, and maybe that's why he felt more subdued than normal. Because I was
Mm.
like, they almost are trying to do the comedic writing of the Brigadier, but they're like holding back, and maybe it's because it's not the
Yeah.
real Nick Courtney.
I will say I didn't catch that either. Like that legitimately sounded like Nick Courtney in the 70s to me.
Yeah, he
To
was
the point
very
that I
good.
was like, holy crap. So yeah, him and Michael Troughton, phenomenal. Like
Mhm.
spot on. Like again, Michael Troughton does not sound exactly like his dad, but it was another thing of he had the inflections down pat
Mhm.
to the point that it's like, yes, this is the Doctor.
Matter of fact,
And
as
I
you're
think,
listening
and
to him in that
again,
control room, you can just see him start to get that little troll smile of his.
Mhm.
yeah.
And on that note, I think my favorite scene is going to be Taken, and I need to make sure I have a backup because I'm sure someone's going to talk
Mm,
about my favorite Second
yeah.
Doctor scene.
I mean, I guess at the very least, this is a 3 hour plus story. So, unlike some of the other stuff we've covered a bit more recently, there's more to
Mhm.
work.
Mm.
All right. Any last comments before we go on to the review? Once, going twice. All
Um,
right. So Matt, what did you like in general about this story?
General, what I liked about the story. Actually, I think this very much felt like a really good Third Doctor story. It definitely felt like it
mm,
properly belongs to the character, and it's also interesting to have all these other little mentions, especially with dragging the Second Doctor into it, and the fact
mm,
that there seems to be some sort of behind the scenes thing with the Second Doctor and Jamie going on that they would hint at more often later on.
yeah.
Um, But yeah, it felt like it really did mesh very well with what the Third Doctor was doing at the time.
Especially the nail on the head environmental message that
Oh, and
comes
some of
in
the
at the end.
environmental stuff that they would occasionally do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was
As
very
for the
big in the
Second
Third Doctor
Doctor,
era.
I think this was in the after the episode interviews, but they basically they were like, okay, they're doing this story, and they knew Michael Troughton was coming in as the Second Doctor, but they didn't want people to have to wait 6 months or however long it was going to be
Mm,
for the Second Doctor adventures. So they were like, why not make this a Second Doctor story and tease the Second Doctor adventures as well as being a Third Doctor story.
Mm.
mm.
So that's the backstory behind, you know, what him being in there and all the questions around him. This is really a go out and buy the Second Doctor Adventures when it comes out.
Coming soon,
Mm.
TM.
Okay. Anything else on that?
That's basically my general overall thing I liked. Is it just
Okay.
tied in very well.
All right, Alex.
um, hmm. It's funny because like we've covered acting technically, so I don't feel comfortable taking that. And the general this feeling like a solid Third Doctor story is also something I would have gone with. So now I'm like, what have I got? Let's see.
Well, we've covered specific
I
actors, so
guess.
you can still talk about
Hmm.
acting if you want to.
I'm just trying to think if there's a specific. Hmm. You know what? I guess in a general sense, for as long as this is, fairly breezy
Hmm.
for like a 3 hours plus story. Like, I think, or like if it's not 3 hours, it's definitely very close. I think when I took the interviews out because they were in a weird spot, so I took them out. It took
Hmm.
like 20 minutes off the runtime. Um, so I forget exactly how long it
It's
was.
still a feature
But
length
yeah,
movie.
yeah. It's like for something that's that long. I think when I was most of the way through it, I looked over to see how much was like I was doing other stuff at the time, so it also,
Hmm.
makes it
I,
probably feel like
I,
it
I,
goes quicker.
I think it was 2.5 hours without the
Mm.
extra if you never pause it.
Mm. But yeah, like generally, for as long as it is, very breezy riding.
Mhm.
Like, which to be fair, you could argue that if they really wanted to, because they might assume, oh, people aren't just gonna sit there and listen. They're gonna be doing something else. That they could like make not necessarily have the pacing be this tight. But yeah, like honestly, there are some we've covered some 6-parters that felt like they were 8 because it
Yeah,
just felt like it goes on
I mean,
forever. And
not
this is a
not
7-parter that feels shorter than that.
not to add onto the fire of what we were talking about before, but we've covered 4-parters that felt like they were 7.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll agree. This really never sagged. There was always something new happening. They kept switching up who was with who on a regular basis.
And
So
they kept it very
even though it
clear who
was
was with who as well.
yeah, even though the summary was a lot of and they keep investigating and they keep investigating, like it wasn't like a slog of investigation
Hmm.
either.
Yeah. Generally a story where they used the time they had wisely.
They'd be investigating, but something actually happens. Ooh, intrigue.
All right, so I guess that goes to me. So I'll say I liked Alison Clare and Jane Broadbelt. They were fully fleshed out characters, which they were interesting. I definitely would have wanted to see more of Jane just because it's like,
Hmm.
how many gun hoarders do you know of in England? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if the 70s were different, but like I want to learn more about this. She's a physician who
Hmm.
hoards guns and is just like
Yeah.
ready to take charge in a shootout. Like,
Right.
what is this character's backstory? Like, it was really
Yeah.
interesting to just see her on screen. And I mean,
Hmm.
Alice Sinclair was a little more of an archetypical character. He was very much like, oh yeah, I'm a decent cop, and something weird is going on at my police station. Um,
Hmm.
but he did the job effectively, right? Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
knew like the hypnosis was coming and managed to fake it. He faked being unconscious to learn more information. Like he was very
Hmm.
effective at what he needed to do.
Yeah. Definitely another case of, well, in a way, it's both a sign of good writing and also just taking advantage of the fact that this is a 7-parter. To
Right.
like, we don't get Jane for ultimately all that much, but she's a fully fleshed out character in that time.
And half the time we have her, she's in bed rest.
Yeah.
So she definitely feels like a character that if she'd survived this story, I would not have been against the idea of her getting like a spin-off that has like not necessarily even anything to do with aliens or something, or maybe even like unit. Because like, let's face it, she does come off as like it's almost too bad her and the Brigadier don't really interact at all. I don't think, from what I remember, because the Brigadier probably would have just been like, "Hey, you want a job?"
She would have made a more interesting companion than Harry Sullivan.
Harry Sullivan's an imbecile.
I will
Uh,
additionally throw out that I realized what my original thing was going to be. I won't like go massively into it. It's something that I can knock out fairly quick. But something that I was gonna say as my like overall thing that was good, the music
Oh, yeah.
in this was very much like made me feel like I was effectively listening to an episode a story that we had lost the audio, the visual, I mean,
Yeah.
aspect of. It was like very of that era.
Then to be fair, just Big Finish is very spot on about that too.
Mhm.
All
All
right.
right, on to what we dislike about the episode, starting with Matt. The story, the
Dislike.
many episodes.
Um, if there's anything I dislike in general is the hand waviness of the ending. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of serious implications and a lot of crazy stuff going on, and it's like, how are we going to recover from this? How are we going to stop this in time? And we're just going to hand wave it all away, and only the doctor will remember vaguely at least what happened here. Bye
The Nick
bye.
Briggsiness of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
that seems to be a
starting to
Nick
feel
Briggs
like
thing.
he only has one ending.
Mm.
And it sucks
And
because, like, I mean,
and
we've
I
praised the
understand
writing,
you
but
need to keep
this is
canon
always his ending.
canon, but this is a
Yeah.
little too hand wavy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. I will admit, to feed off that, when I realized, because I forget if I even looked up or if I remembered it coming up, like listening through the credits and hearing his name. But like when you brought up that this was written by by Nicholas Briggs at the start, I was like, oh yeah, right.
I had
That tracks.
forgotten. I had forgotten who wrote it. It wasn't even in my mind.
Yeah.
And then they hit the reset button, and all of this never happened. I was like, "Oh fuck, Nick Briggs wrote this, didn't he?"
Yeah. Like
Gosh darn it, Nick.
it's also yeah. It's like it's interesting as well because it's funny because it's just that different sort of like a lot of people joke about the sort of time shenanigansy stuff that like Moffat tries to do, but it's usually like different takes on like screwy shit with time rather
Yeah,
than just
but
a reset button at the end every time.
then his reset buttons have reset buttons that have reset buttons. It's just like, what? That's not how this works. No, wait.
Yeah.
So he still breaks his own timeline too, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Doesn't really matter.
Mm. It's definitely one of those things where you almost kind of wish that like someone like Terrence Dix had been given the script to go over and had just very quietly rewritten the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll find this script a little bit better have an ending there. My best Terrence.
All right,
That being
Alex,
said,
what did you dislike about the episode?
I mean, the only reason I wouldn't have
I
gone
keep
with
saying the
that is
episode. You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, I think the only reason I almost wouldn't have gone with what Matt did is just like, well, I guess we have to bullshit some excuse as to how, like, Pertwee's Doctor and Troughton's haven't met yet because this is before the Omega stuff. But yeah, I think as much as we've praised the writing, there is bits, and there's one that I'm going to leave out for now because it's a like a specific instance that I will not talk about because that's probably going to be a scene. But there are some instances where I was just like, these characters would not be making these mistakes. Like, it's just a bit silly that some of the mistakes that are made, given everything that's happened up to this point, it's like, feels like they should have been slightly smarter than that, or even just like some little bits of writing where I'm like, I'm sorry, but this is set in the 70s, right? And this isn't going to be a
I mean,
scene because it's just such a
it's
small
70s or
thing.
80s, depending on the
Yeah,
dating
yeah, yeah,
system.
yeah. Right. Um, like this is when it's set, and it's such a little thing that I'll bring it up here and not another scene. But like, how do you not know? Unless you've like never read or watched any sci-fi in your life, how the fuck do you not know, even in the 70s or 80s, what a transmat beam is? Like, the concept of that would have existed in sci-fi by then. Doctor Who
I
did
mean,
not invent that.
so if he had said transporter, I could see your point. But I've
Yeah.
never heard of the word transmat outside of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I'll agree to
Rocky
that.
Horror Picture Show. Like, Rocky
And
Horror
even then,
Picture
they
Show
didn't.
came after this would be set. But Rocky Horror Picture Show is referencing old shit, and they specifically, one of the lyrics in one of the last songs is "Prepare the transmat beam." So I'm
That's the
like,
1980s.
this was a no, that was late 70s. But well, actually, it was mid
So that was
70s.
probably a Doctor Who reference.
That was already a reference at that point because
To
the
be
Fourth Doctor
fair,
had used it by then.
To be fair, like for all I know, maybe transmat as like a shorthand term because he like explains what the full name is. Just no one knowing what the idea of that is. I'm like, that's got to have existed in sci-fi as a term prior to
The
Doctor
concept
Who.
did. I don't know about the term.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the term. The concept did, but I'm not so sure on the term until the late 70s for sure.
Because like even like Liz quickly gets what he means very quickly. It's like, oh, so you mean something that can transport matter across space or whatever?
I mean, Liz is
And like,
canonically smarter than Al Sinclair.
yeah, true, yeah, but it's still just I don't know, just something about that. And
Okay,
again, maybe it's just
so
because I've watched so much sci-fi, but
if
that bugs me.
according to Wiktionary, which may not be the most reliable source, but it's the most reliable source I found. It had been in use since the 50s, but Doctor Who is believed to be what popularized the term.
So yeah, not till the late half of the 70s.
That said, I think only one
Yeah.
character struggled with it, while even Jamie picked it up immediately.
Yeah. So it is just kind of like, I mean, when I mean, to be fair, he's been traveling on the TARDIS, but when the Scottish Highlander is able to grasp it better than you, it's a bit odd.
Well, he's been
I
through
don't
it all,
know.
hasn't
Like
he,
again,
at this point?
again, it's ultimately in that one instance, it's more of a nitpick because it, like, you know, I didn't grow up then, so I don't know how common that a sci-fi term that was, but it still is a bit. I don't know. Maybe it's just because it feels like it should be older because like the stuff in Rocky Horror is referencing stuff from like the 30s through the 50s. So I'm like, that term's got to be older, right? But yeah.
No, not really. Not popular, at least. Anywho. Bill?
All right, so I'm going to say that the Grestranor kind of played the idiot plot for a while, because if they're there to save humanity, why were they like indiscriminately killing humans? And even like when units showed up, they were like, "Oh, you know, the humans are killing our people." Have you tried speaking with them if you're actually there to save them? Like,
right. If it
they're
was a
just
matter
like, no,
of
we're here to just save them, but also just like kill them in the process.
yeah, if it was a matter of like a comedy of errors where like they keep wording things in a way that can be misinterpreted, but it's not just outright them saying like, I guess we've got to kill you and shit like that.
I'd be fine. Like, you know, Denise Walker or whatever her actual alien name was, that's not on TARDIS. She was doing that on purpose because she was like, "I'm not lying. I'm just, you know, saying words in a deceptive
truth,
way." Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, it would definitely work if that was what was happening with them.
Mm. But instead,
Or
like,
like if they accidentally killed that guy and they're like, "Oh, we didn't know that we were draining the ATP from his body."
right, especially because this is very like Galaxy 4 in the sense of like, oh, the aliens who we don't know what they look like, but that look very gross are technically the good guys, and the ones who look human are the bad guys. So it's very don't judge a book by its cover kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. But again, it's like the
Ironic
writing
considering
doesn't
that this
support
is
it.
season 6B Second Doctor, and the reason we have season 6B is because of the two doctors, which is the story where the monsters look humanoid, and they're making a statement about that.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. I just the parallel
Yeah.
there. I had to say something.
Mm. But yeah, it's just very like in that one we don't hear from God, I can't remember what the aliens in Galaxy 4 are, but generally like we don't hear of what the sort of ugly aliens are even up to until they go and actually see them and find out, oh, these are actually the good guys. There's no interaction with them prior. So we don't know what the motives are because we haven't met them yet. We're just like, oh, they're tricking us into, oh, they're the monstrous looking ones, so clearly they must be evil.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this, we're with them for a while, so it's it is a bit clunky. Again,
Mm-hmm.
this does feel in that way, and I brought it up jokingly before, but this almost does feel like someone like Terrence Dix or just someone who was a more experienced crew writer, even like a more like a different Big Finish writer, giving this a once over probably could have helped
Mm-hmm.
with elements like that.
All right, so now we're on to favorite scenes, Matt.
Favorite scene. Um, Honestly, I'm gonna go with the gunfight at the doctor's home. Not the doctor's home, but
Oh, at
the
Jane's home.
yeah. Because that was something that amplified very quickly, and they actually managed to have a decent turnaround.
You say like, there's 5
Hmm.
doctors in this episode. We don't need to get into the who's on first.
Who's on second? I don't know. No, he's third.
So sorry, yeah, you were saying about the scene.
I just liked how they very quickly amplified, and they actually came to some very logical conclusions to actually help defend themselves. And at first,
Okay.
yeah, I was figuring that they would have to combine their shots in order to defeat these things because it seems like it needed a lot of power first to get rid of them. But then they just quickly realized, oh, the weak spot's actually the head, and gradually they managed to fight them off. And it's also mixed in with a second view from the Doctor and Jamie as they just arrived on the scene too and are witnessing all this weird stuff right off the bat.
All right, Alex.
You know, it's funny because I don't think this would have been my pick of my first go through, but it really stuck out in the second one as a fun moment for Jamie. But the moment where he's interacting with the third Doctor and is trying to confirm that it is the Doctor, it's like, okay, you know, what, like, where did we first meet the Brigadier and stuff like that, and still being cautious because, like, yeah, we know it is, but he doesn't.
And
like, this could be some alien, you know, pretending to claim to be the Doctor. So it makes Jamie actually look smart.
And unlike Liz, nobody taught him about regeneration before this.
Right. So it's like, to me, it's very interesting that, like, it's a moment of, like, I feel like some people would get to that scene and feel like, Jamie, what the fuck are you doing? But I listen to that and I'm like, No, that's being smart. That's being
Mhm.
cautious of like, he doesn't know who this is. They're claiming to be the doctor. They seemingly have his memories and all that. But with all the shit that Jamie's been through,
Yeah,
yeah, stands to reason that he would be cautious.
right.
Like, he's not like, attacking him or any ridiculous shit like that. He's just being cautious just in case this is some ploy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that is one of the smartest moments I can personally remember seeing Jamie have. So that stood out a lot of like, yeah, that reasonably makes sense.
So I mean, I guess it's only because there's only three of us. We got to me without my scene being taken. But the interrogation scene, it had me fucking dying both times I
Yeah.
listened to it. Oh, what will you do if I don't answer your questions? Oh,
Right.
you'll stop asking questions, will you?
Oh,
Yeah. Just utterly trolling the shit out of those
Yes, it was
aliens.
perfect second Doctor. Just
Yeah.
he playing the clown, but also pushing the boundaries, learning what he can.
Mm.
He didn't learn the one key piece of information, which I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the one instance you said you'll mention later about making mistakes. But
Mm.
yeah, he was definitely on point for a great second Doctor scene there.
Mm.
All right, least favorite scenes.
oh, least favorite scene. Hmm.
If you need more
Actually,
time to think, I could go first because I have mine.
what I'm gonna go over really quick is we have all this gunfighting that's supposedly going on, and all of a sudden, like, we seem to, without any warning, just whisk ahead several minutes, and like almost everyone's dead except for the unit people. It's like, what, how, why, when?
When she just like all of a sudden was like, I'm the last of my people, or like I'm the last of my team. I was like, when did this happen?
When this
Yeah.
happened, what? How did your guys fail so miserably in there?
Well, they were used to having the big guns. That oh no, wait, the Doctor
They
did
did
give
have
them
their
the big
guns.
guns back. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
there's no excuse. They're really lame.
He
Yeah.
wiped out both alien forces except for one person each. So by the end, there were more Time Lords than any other alien group.
Yeah, the biggest alien group in this scene is the Time Lords. Whoops.
Mm.
They're like, shit. We don't need a bunch of voice actors in this scene. It's hard enough without visuals.
It was just very weird and very sudden. It's like, well, that was convoluted to just make this a simple scene. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thought. That was my weakest scene. Alex?
Okay, Alex.
Okay. I get that the Brigadier isn't necessarily the sharpest knife in the drawer,
Fair. Fair.
but him falling victim to the mind control stuff that easily,
Oh.
that
That
bugged
easily.
me.
Yeah.
Like, I could like a bit of a struggle, and then I could maybe have settled with, but just something about that fell off.
I was
For
okay with
me.
it the first time. By the third time, I was like, okay, Joe, they would have had her shrugging this off by this point. Like, this is pointed,
Yeah,
like,
I'm pretty sure they literally did, because there was a
yeah.
point in like, like the master had done it to her at least once. The second time, I
Mhm.
think she shrugged it off.
Where, yeah,
So
and that's why I said, like, it's like they're
Yeah.
trying to play with the Brigadier isn't all that bright. But I was like, he's still, like, smart enough and, like,
Right.
willful enough that when he knows that somebody's, fucking with his mind, he's gonna,
He's gonna
not
give them
keep
hell.
Yeah.
falling for it.
Like, yeah, and like he's not a scientist or whatever else, but he's still got a military mind.
Right.
That would, you would still need a lot to strategize for that kind of stuff. So he's got a level of intelligence.
If nothing else,
So
he
it
has
just
focused
seems so.
fortitude, and you would think that the fact that he knows someone's an enemy, he would be able to see through that a lot easier.
I mean,
Especially that
Al
after multiple
Sinclair
times.
was able to throw off the,
right.
And he's just a police officer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, especially while it is kind of funny, the salute thing. I'm like, well, that goes against, if we're using like D&D logic, that goes against something that he would do normally, like saluting some random cop. Why would he be able to be influenced to do that? That would be something where you would think the inner workings of him would be like, hang on.
Mm-hmm. But
That's not something
I accepted the first time because his guard was down. He's expecting to talk to a regular human cop who may be a bit of, insert whatever insult you want to hear, but she's doing her job, right? She's not, supposed to be here to take over the earth or destroy humanity. But by the third time, I think he at least should have knew better.
Yeah. Because, like, it's just, like, even the second time, he's, like, he only really... Like, yeah, most of the other times, he only really shrugs it off because someone interrupts it. And it's just, like, no. Like, that's just making him look incredibly incompetent by that point.
It's also, like, the second time, or at least what I think is... I'm like, there may be more times I'm not thinking of. But there was the one where, like, she told him to do something that... he was really out of character, and he was like, no, that's not what's happening. Like, he was able to shrug it off because of that. So you would really think that by the end of the serial, his resistance would be stronger, not weaker. And that he would be like, no, like, I'm done, I'm done with this. Like, you can't just keep using the same trick over and over and expect it to work.
Yeah.
So that brings... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, yeah, they have, like, the two doctors seemingly straining themselves to, like, influence her mind to make it so she doesn't shoot the last Brestrenor. But even then, yeah, it's still, like, if the emphasis was she could basically mind control anyone except the two doctors because she's just that powerful a telepath, that I'd be fine with. But the fact that it's just, like, we single out... the Brigadier as like the one person who can just no thoughts, head empty, happens every time. It's like, come on.
We're tossing Commander Worf across the bridge again.
All right, so I've been trying to think if I had a backup that wasn't taken. But this wasn't taken as a scene. This was taken as a general thing about the episode. So I'm still going to go with the scene where, reversing the trajectory of this not only, and like, not only has relativistic effects, which would make some sense, even if they're playing fast and loose with Einstein, because it's Doctor Who. They play fast and loose with science all the time.
Yeah.
But it has such an effect that it causes a ripple that, people can't remember. Like, why are we creating a paradox instead of just a proper resolution to the episode? And I know we already talked about this in general things about the story, but, like, once it came up in that scene, is just so very frustrating.
Yeah. And you know what? Something that could have worked for this, at least so it didn't feel like it didn't feel like everything was lost, was something like Last of the Time Lords, where it's like people within a certain contained field of space will remember this, but everyone else, as far as the greater world knows, nothing happened. But everyone in this room, I mean, you kind of have to finagle it for, like, why the hell would Pertwee remember two and all that, but, like, you could maybe just have that be
because he was
timey-wimey
two,
shit.
but yeah.
Oh, you know what I mean.
I
Like
mean,
two showing up
you
and all
could
that.
almost argue that he could have just remembered it because in the Three Doctors, I don't think he had that paranoia about, oh, if we meet each other, we might destroy the time-space continuum. Like,
Right.
True.
that's local to this
True,
story, and
yeah.
we never complained about it because it kind of made sense. It's kind of the first, it's now the chronologically first multi-doctor story. But the fact that he learned from it and never did it again, like they could have just let him learn it.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's one of those things where, like, this could have just had, instead of, like, a thing hurtling towards Earth, it could have just been a machine that, like, flip a switch, that does everything. Like, still kind of hand wavy, but at least it would be like a machine doing something instead of something in outer space got flung back in the opposite direction, and somehow that, you know, Superman going really fast around the world thing kind of logic to somehow undo everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor gets sent to the ether as he's going backwards in time, and you just hear the music of Superman turning the world backwards.
All right, so now for final thoughts.
Final thoughts. So overall, I think most of the voice acting is very good. There's a little spotty in spots, but I feel a lot of them that are spotty could probably catch on to where they're spotty and learn for future episodes and very much improve themselves to the point that we'd barely be able to tell the difference outside of tone of voice. The story itself ties very well to the Third Doctor era. Fits in nicely with everything else going on. The characters are very well written. The story has at least up until the conclusion a lot of going for it and has a very smooth ride all the way through, which you don't always get, especially for a long episode like this one. In general, I generally quite enjoyed my time with it, and I've only listened to it once so far.
Just out of curiosity, wait, did you last listen to this a month ago?
A week ago.
Oh, okay. All right.
I believe actually it might have been 2 weeks ago, but yeah.
All right, Alex.
It's kind of interesting because I feel like the first time through, and maybe it was just because some of the voices were throwing me off a bit, I didn't think as highly as I did about this when I came out the second time of it. And like, yeah, we've like pulled some of the story elements apart and all that. But ultimately I still really like this. And again, I feel like part of it that brings it back. And like, yeah, the ending is very hand wave, everything resets, blah. But I feel like that would suck a lot more is if this was like 2.5, maybe 2 hours 40, etc. But felt like 3.5 hours.
Oh yeah, if it
That
was
would
a
be
slog,
that
that'd
would
be
be
like
like,
absolutely livid.
yeah, that would just be very like, are you fucking kidding me?
Natsutia slug, and it's a
Like,
reset button. F you.
yeah, yeah, that. Whereas like the pacing being as good as it is, like helps kind of alleviate that somewhat because you don't feel like you've been with this story as long. But yeah, a lot of the actors are great. Like I was wondering because this is my first exposure to Michael Troughton voicing the second Doctor, and goddamn, if this was his like it was brought up earlier that this was apparently his first time. I wouldn't have been able to tell.
His first time
I'm not
officially,
sure if
yes.
Like,
I'm not sure if it was his first time recording. I know it was definitely the first released.
right.
His first time, I would assume at least getting ready for that
But
particular run.
even then, if this was very early, is like it still would have been very early. That's bang on for something that he would have, if he had recorded anything else prior to this, that would have been very little. But the fact that he nailed it that much Like, that's one of those things. It's like, God, you really wish Sean Pertwee could be talked into, because he might be able to nail it, but we don't, you never know. Like, even though it's Patrick Troughton's kid doing the voice, you never know if but yeah, again, just the inflections, spot on, bloody amazing. And it's also just interesting because we're working in the season 6B stuff as well, very clearly. Some people who aren't aware of that necessarily will probably be thrown off a bit, but it's at very least so intriguing that it's like it did its job, because I actually want to hear more of his stuff now, of him playing the Doctor. So, they definitely achieved what they set out to do with that by having him in this as a tease. Um, but yeah, like I enjoy this as much as there are things that bring it down. While they might bring it down like noticeably, not a like massive amount. And again, I think part of it is like, this isn't Web of Fear, is my go-to of like, that was 6 parts, it felt like 8. This is 7, it feels like 6 or 5. It feels shorter than it actually is, and that does a lot of work. And while there's a bit of spotty like acting delivery bits here and there, otherwise the acting is damn great. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this to people. Especially because again, especially because again, this is a breezy listen. So like, do not be intimidated by the fact that this is a 7-part story. Put on a video game or something that you can just kind of tune out and play, and put this on. It's a good listen.
All right, so on to mine. So this was an ambitious story. It was Big Finish's first 7-parter. It was a 2 alien factions, 2 doctors, 3 companions, plus a supporting cast. And a lot of that did really good for the pacing. It kept it tight. The characters, the character interactions, pretty much spot on. Like we said, some of the writing for the Brigadier could have been better, but and we had the Grestronor kind of holding the idiot ball for a little bit. Generally, my only significant complaint about this episode is the ending. And we've covered that several times in this podcast. It's a chronic issue that Nick Briggs has. It's either he just really loves this type of ending and thinks it's the best kind of ending ever, or he does not know how to end stories. I mean, I know there's been a few stories that he ended that were not a reset, but I feel like at this point we must have covered more than 5 things he's written, and I think at most one of them was not a reset button.
Maybe
Yeah.
2, maybe.
I mean,
But
literally
most of them,
his
yeah.
first thing writing for when they brought Eccleston in was either a reset or like basically a reset. So
Yeah, his first Eccleston story, his first Doctor Who story. I imagine if we went back to his pre-Big Finish stuff when it was basically just fanfic with him as a self-insert Doctor, there was probably half the stories ended this way. Like, this isn't they beat the shit out of young Nick Briggs or even modern Nick Briggs, but it's just we praised the writing in a lot of areas, like when it came to the temporary cast and so forth.
But then why
the
do you
third
keep
Doctor
having
writing
the
was
same
perfect.
ending, Nick?
Yeah,
Why
the
always
ending
this
falls
ending,
flat,
Nick?
and we've said the ending has fallen flat so many times with Nick Briggs's writing, and it's his real weak spot. And that is the last thing, because we've said everything else there is to say. So time for ratings.
All right. due to the nature of this beast, I'm going to say that in general, I was very close, but I think I'm going to stick at a 4 with this one.
Okay, 4.0. Alex?
Ooh. You know, it's funny because I was debating whether I could go as high as 5, but I think there is enough dragging it down
Yeah, it's not quite a
that I
5.
can, yeah, that I can pull it, but I'm going to be a bit more generous and I'm going to give it a 4.5.
4.5. I'm leaning toward the 4.0 myself as well. So we have two
It's
4.0s and a
just
4.5,
yeah,
which is actually the order is different, but that's the same rating we gave Scream of the Shalka in our last podcast. So 4.17. Do I have to go over the same list of things it's as good as and better than?
if you want to,
Um,
but honestly, we've taken up so much time tonight. I think we should just hurry this
That's true.
along.
Yeah, it's running
yeah.
late. So I'll say don't forget to like the video, subscribe on YouTube, or follow us on Twitch. Next time we continue to look at Scribe Awards nominees with the Fifth Doctor Adventures: The Last Resort, written by A.K. Benedict and starring Peter Davison as the Doctor, Sarah Sutton as Nissa, Janet Fielding as Tegan Jovanka, Matthew Waterhouse as Adric, and George Watkins as Mark. We'll see you then.
And hopefully in less than 2 weeks.